Hi, and welcome to Starfinder Wednesdays. I'm Rob McCreary, the creative director for Starfinder, and I'm here with
Jason Keeley, Starfinder developer. Hi there.
And we are here today to talk about one of the new classes in the upcoming Character Operations Manual, which is coming out in November. With your help here on the Twitch stream, Jason and I are going to go through and create a new Biohacker. And we'll be doing this for each of the three classes in the Character Operations Manual over the next month or so. And then we're going to be putting these characters up online so that you guys can take a look at them and use them to play with and everything. So we're going to give you in the audience some choices in terms to help us guide us in making this character. And yeah, why don't we talk a little bit about the Biohacker first?
Yeah, let's do it. The Biohacker is a scientifically based class. They use sort of injection weapons, with basically full of needles and whatnot, and chemical serums to do stuff to your body. To your biological body, you can get basically. They have a lot of they get a certain number of them at a time, and they can fire them with injection weapons or just jam them into your neck, I guess, if you want. And at the beginning, the Biohacker gets a couple sort of basic, what are known as like boosts and inhibitors. Boosts are for your allies, inhibitors are for your enemies, and they do stuff like give you a little bit of extra armor class or inhibit your speed, that kind of thing.
Yeah, weird science. So this is what it's all about. I think we're going to start off. That's kind of our basic description of what the Biohacker is. So the first thing we're going to look at to create this character is what race is the Biohacker. And to do that, we're going to look at some of the playable races in Alien Archive 3, which is recently out. So let's go ahead and start talking about those now.
Nice. What we got up here, though, before we do, is Dr. B. This is our iconic Biohacker whose backstory just premiered yesterday, I believe.
Yeah.
And she is a Kasatha Biohacker who's got the icon theme. So she's a bit of a Bill Nye science mythbuster Steve Irwin situation. She's got her own vid show. She goes around and shows you all the good things about science. Teaches you all the science you need to know. On
Dr. B's Science Jubilee.
That's right. That's the name of that show. Oh, it's delightful. Every time I hear it, I have to smile. That was actually the sort of brainchild of Amanda Hammond, our developing manager.
Yeah, so if you're interested in learning more about Dr. B, check out the blog on Paizo.com where her Meet the Iconic story just went up. But like we said, we are going to be creating our own Biohacker right now.
From scratch.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the races from Alien Archive 3 that we're going to give you all the choices for.
All right. First up is a Cephaloom. Now, they're from a high-pressure world of liquid methane, and they have this sort of clearly cephalopod-like appearance, and they communicate using the bioluminescence on their skin. So that's pretty neat. They're medium aberrations, right? They have the plant-like subtype because they've got plant-like DNA in there. They have dark vision and cold resistance, as well as a symbiotic relationship with a sort of living biological augmentation that can give them extra little benefits. When we'll pick one of those, we'll probably, if the Cephaloom gets chosen. The Cephaloom has +2 strength, +2 wisdom, and -2 con.
All right, the next one we have is the Decimar Imago, or Imago. We're kind of going back and forth on the pronunciation here. There's actually two types of Decimars that we're going to give you the option to. Here, this is sort of the adult form. They're sort of, as you can see, skinny-limbed bipedal butterflies. They have the natural ability to teleport short distances. They are humanoids, and they have blind sense scent and low light vision. They can fly, but their little butterfly limbs are pretty fragile. So they get a +2 bonus to wisdom, a +2 bonus to charisma, and a -2 to their strength.
Yeah. And here we have the sort of larval form of the Imago. This is a Decimar instar, and as you can see, they're basically smaller and more caterpillar-like, and their bodies exude the sort of mild hallucinogen known as dream dust. So if someone grabs them, they can sort of puff it out and give that enemy a little bit of a staggered condition. They're small, also humanoid. They have the same blind sense, scent, and low light vision as what they get when they grow up. And they have a climb speed instead of a fly speed because they don't have wings. But they have kind of poor vision. Their stats are +2 con, +2 wisdom, and -2 dexterity.
And while this one has a lab coat, not all Instars have lab coats.
That's true.
All right, we also have the Raxilite. These are tiny little sapient plant creatures from a recently discovered world. And Raxilites have bioengineered like a whole system of prehensile vines that help them cope in a universe built for much larger creatures, of course. They are tiny plants with low light vision, and they can switch between having bonuses to bluff and diplomacy to having a bonus to acrobatics checks and the ability to slow their falls. Raxilites get a +2 dex, +2 int, and +2 charisma, but a -4 strength. They are little tiny dandelion people
teeny.
after all.
Exactly. And next up, we have the Shatori. Their species was altered by the energies of the boneyard, and it made their flesh semi-transparent, and their eyes and their bones glow creepily. They're otherwise humanoid and have cool psychic abilities. They are medium humanoids and have a bonus to saving throws against death effects, disease, fear effects, and poison. They also have a few sort of 0-level spell-like abilities they can cast at will, like grave words. Like they're very connected to the dead. They have a +2 int, a +2 wisdom, and a -2 con.
And finally, we have the Spathinae. Although it looks humanoid, this is actually a colony of minuscule insects, and they tend to take on humanoid form to sort of interact with the wider galaxy. They get bonuses to saving throws against bleed and all sorts of things, mind-affecting effects, paralysis, sleep, those sorts of things, because they're all just a big colony of insects. They're also difficult to bull rush and grapple and reposition and trip. But like for harmful effects, they are considered swarms. So they get a +2 dex, +2 whiz, and -2 con. So those are our choices. We're going to put up a poll on the Twitch stream right now. So go ahead and vote for which race you want to use for this biohacker.
That's right. Do you have a favorite, Rob?
I really like the Spathinaes, although it's hard to argue with the lab coat on the Decimar Instar.
yes.
He is dressed for success. He is for this stream
for this particular endeavor. Indeed, I can see already we've got kind of Raxilite is in the lead here, and you can't blame chat here. Those little tiny plant people, those little pigments are adorable, and so imagine a little tiny plant being your doctor. You walk in and this thing that's like maybe like a foot high walks in and says, "Oh yes, I'll be checking you out today."
Although having a biohacker as your doctor may not be the best idea, anyways.
What do you mean? They study all sorts of good things,
experiment and that kind of thing. Well, maybe, yeah.
The biohacker's got to make some credits in a daily job. They can't always just be experimenting on that. Research grants can't be gotten by everybody, right?
Okay, I'll accept that. Okay. Yeah, Raxilite is definitely in the lead with Spathinae close behind. Well, not that close though. So
definitely second.
Go Science Caterpillar. This is Nyerk or that's
right. And of course, if you have any other questions about any of these particular races, you can pop that in the chat. We're reading that right now, and we can answer them pretty quickly if that'll help you make your choice better.
Indeed. And of course, there's tons more playable races in Alien Archive 3. Right. We just picked a handful of them in the upcoming streams where we're building the other characters from the Character Operations Manual. We'll be showing off some more of the playable races in Alien Archive 3 too. So you'll be able to see more of those options in the future as well.
All right. Well, the poll is closed, and it's Raxilite.
Raxilite is the winner. Raxilite. Okay, so we're going to
write that on the character sheets.
Write that in there. We have that now. All right. So
yes, Rob, will you just quickly open up the book to Raxilite here, and just give me a quick.
I would love to.
I mean, actually, I have that right here. +2 dex. Sorry, +2. I was like, read to me what those were. We just said those. I'm just going to make a little mark on the sheet here for later when we do the full ability scores.
We will have to pick whether it's a flowering or seeding.
Yes, at the beginning.
Right, at the beginning.
Right, because they can change that over a course of if they take a week, they can just sort of take their time.
We have a question here from Quincy Forder, which is, are the Shatori also living on Eox? I would say that there is a possibility there could be some Shatori living on Eox, because it is a big galaxy, but they are actually from a planet that is under the dominion of the Aslanti Star Empire.
Yeah.
So they are mostly considered Aslanti citizens, and they live out in the vast. But you could certainly, individuals might live in the Pact World, and particularly on Eox.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right.
I'm just still making little notes here and there.
So we have our Raxilite, low light vision. Okay. Anything else we need to add in for that?
Well, for now, they have all that Vine stuff, but I can actually maybe sort of.
It's Elfan, or the Lifting Floret Activation Network.
All right, I'll write that down.
Elfan
under abilities, and I've got a couple biohacker things already loaded in up here. You can see at the top. And Elfan Symbiosis.
Yes, because they have a symbiotic relationship with their Lifting Floret Activation Network.
And limited plant benefits, which will give us some good bonuses, I think, to saving throws. And we can add that in later once we have all of the stats. All right, I'm ready to move on.
All right, so let's move on to themes. Once again, we're going to be looking at some of the new themes that are presented in the Character Operations Manual. Of course, when you're making up a character on your own, you can choose themes from any of the books, but we want to show off these things. So let's go ahead and start. What's our first theme option?
They're all almost self-explanatory, but the first theme here is athlete. That means a professional competitor and expert in physical fitness, and they all get +1 to strength, dex, or con as we decide.
We also have the grifter, the con artist extraordinaire who swindles marks, and grifters get a +1 to intelligence.
A guard is pretty much just that, a vigilant protector who doesn't allow their charges to come to harm, and that'll be a +1 strength or dex. It'll be our choice later on.
Not to be confused with the law officer, who is a more professional enforcer of the law and sentinel of the public. They get a +1 to wisdom.
A noble scion is a master of high society born into privilege, +1 charisma.
The sensate is a gourmand of new experiences and exciting tastes, +1 con, because they eat lots of different things.
It's true. And street rat is a scrappy child of the streets, +1 dex, because you got to run around and steal bread.
Do you have to be a Yosoki to be a street rat?
No, but you do have to have a monkey friend with a little fez.
All right, so it looks like the poll is up now for our theme.
And noble scion is a little bit in the lead. That's going to be interesting.
A noble Raxilite.
A noble Raxilite with the ability to stab you with needles. I saw someone a question up in chat asking about the custom micro lab, which is a biohacker beginning class ability, and I'll just sort of give you a brief overview of what that means. It is a little bit like the mechanics custom rig, but it is obviously more focused towards science. You're going to get to basically have it acts as a med kit, it acts as a chemalizer. Sorry about that, and it's what you need to have ready to make all of the things that you're going to inject into people. And so basically it's kind of like, a Star Trek tricorder scanner. It lets you figure out stuff about monsters a little easier. And you can use physical science or life science, depending on whether the monster is living or not, instead of the normal skills you'd use. So you can basically be like, hey, I know science. I know what this thing is.
It also lets them. Did you say that it lets them create all of their different?
Yes. And one of the things that's different, if you checked out the playtest, and I thought this was a really good addition from the playtest. Once you have your custom microlab, you can attune it to your allies, and when you do that, if you are shooting at them with a ranged injection weapon, you automatically hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So we don't have to worry about missing a friend trying to give them some hit points or a bonus. Polls closed.
Yes, and by a relatively slim margin, looks like Noble Scion.
Okay.
Man, that makes me happy because I'm the one who wrote the Noble Scion.
This is going to be a hecka charismatic Raxilite. I've already got a +3 to the charisma right off the bat.
Okay.
And the sort of opening ability for the Noble Scion is just basically like to have noble knowledge of other nobles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit later on, though, you can get a sort of personal servant, like can be like a valet or
right.
attendant who comes along and travels with your character. And
does that one also have a stipend?
Yes,
too?
yes,
Yeah.
and you also
sort of-
just get a little bit of pay from your family's position or whatever that helps support you when the adventuring pickings are slim.
Right. Terrific. Right now, I'm just sort of realizing that since we have hit points aren't affected by Constitution, the Raxilite gets a base of 2 hit points, and the Biohacker has a base of 6 hit points. So I just wrote that in there right now.
All right.
But one of the big choices, we'll sort of get from choices you make from every character to a choice you make with each individual biohacker that you make. Biohackers, at the beginning, you choose what scientific method you follow. And that is essentially going to choose your key ability score. And there's only 2. So we're basically choosing between instinctive, which is your mad scientist biohacker. They make quick connections between things, and they often act sort of impulsively and without really considering the ramifications. But this is going to get us bonus ranks in 2 skills, an insight bonus to those skills, and allows the biohacker to add their wisdom modifier instead of their intelligence modifier to life science, medicine, and physical science checks.
Alternatively, we can make a Studious biohacker. This sort of biohacker, their mind is a fortress of information that can't easily be breached. They get a bonus to will saves because of the aforementioned mental fortress, and they get to add their int modifier to perception and sense motive check. So intelligence would be your key ability score if you choose the Studious biohacker.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the poll.
It's getting close. Oh! And Studious just overtook instinctive, and my heart is racing. There was sort of a big question about, there were some changes made to both of these choices, I believe, from the playtest to make them a little more even. I think there was the common knowledge was that instinctive was the best one, Studious was the best one, and then we sort of have made it so that they're, I think, closer to even for sure.
Yeah. Much the way our choices are close to even, although Studious is pulling ahead right now.
Indeed.
Which I think people can see on the screen, so I don't really need to be
No, we don't have to do play-by.
And Studious gets to the 40-yard line.
All right, polls closed, and we have picked Studious.
Okay.
Scientific method Studious.
So our intelligence will be the key ability score for our Raxilite biohacker.
Indeed, and they get a bonus to intelligence, so that's not a bad choice. And as someone said, as Eddie V said in chat, our super smart onion nerd is going to be very, very book learned. Probably, spending all that time as a noble sign, growing up around a big library of books and other sort of scientific journals. I can see that. I can definitely see that.
There's no books in the future. It's all on screens.
Well, still books. I mean, what else? What other words do we use here? I'm going to make sure that we're going to add that little bonus to will save right now. Mod to that. That bonus goes up as you go up in level. And we'll sort of figure that other stuff out when we get to the skills.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think now we are going to go to the next big choice for the biohacker, which is the primary field of study. Biohackers can choose from various different fields, and they're going to get later on as they go up in level, they can choose a secondary and I believe a tertiary field of study as well. So let's talk about these options.
Sure, real
here.
quick. And and as I mentioned, you get inhibitors and boosters from your biohacks, and each field of study gives you sort of a unique one that only works on living creatures. But the genetics field of study is the study of living creatures and their inherited characteristics. The booster you get grants you blind sense to the person you jab it with, while the inhibitor imparts vulnerability to a type of energy.
Immunology, of course, is all the study of how the body fights off diseases and other maladies. So the biohacker's immunology booster grants a bonus to fortitude saves, while the inhibitor would impart a penalty.
Mm-hmm. Neurochemistry is the study of chemicals that affect creatures' brains, nerves, and related parts of the body. Their booster suppresses the confused and staggered conditions, while the inhibitor imparts a penalty to will saves.
Pharmacology is the study of drugs and their effects on living creatures. So pharmacology booster can end the bleeding condition, and the inhibitor imparts the encumbered and possibly the entangled condition if it's really bad.
It's really bad. And the toxicology primary field of study is the study of adverse effects of certain chemicals on living creatures. The booster grants a creature weird poisonous secretions that make it harder for enemies to attack them, while the inhibitor imparts the sickened condition by giving them a sort of mild toxin. There was a question earlier on chat about, I believe, no, I've forgotten it.
I got it.
You got it. Oh no, this is a different one, but this is a good question too. There was we want to know more about the Atlantis Star Empire, Rob.
You can find most of that information right now in our adventure path called Against the Aeon Throne.
Yep.
And I don't remember offhand which volume.
The second volume has the most information about the Atlantis Star
There's
Empire.
a whole thing about the Atlantis Star Empire and the different races that are all part of it, because there's a dozen star systems that the Atlantis Star Empire has.
A lot of races. The question was put back on, if these things only work on living creatures, do they work on androids? And androids count as living creatures, I believe.
They
right?
do. They count as both constructs or living creatures, whichever is best or worst for the situation, basically, is the constructed racial ability, I believe. Okay, so our poll is closed now.
Oh boy.
Toxicology took the winner. Nobody voted for immunology. Immunology was not popular whatsoever.
Oh, well.
So our Raxilite, our Studious Raxilite Biohacker will be primarily looking at toxicology, though again, as I said, later on, you can pick additional fields of study.
And in a few levels, you get what is known as a breakthrough for each of the fields of study you have. It comes a couple levels after you get it, and that is sort of an even fancier sort of biohacker injection that you can use.
All right.
Yeah.
We have that.
That also sort of written down, right? And we'll be going through, and I think we'll probably do the ability scores closer to last, so we can pick some other things right now.
Okay.
With chat's help.
You want to go to the feats?
Yes,
now?
let's do. You get a feat at first level, don't you?
You do get a feat at first level. Obviously, we have feats in lots of places. We have a couple of feats here that we'll talk about from the character operations manual. The other options are from the core rulebook. Mm-hmm. So our first option is ambuscade. This is from the character operations manual, and this feat you get a +1 bonus to attack rolls and a bonus to damage equal to half your base attack bonus during a surprise round. So if you're good enough to act on the surprise round, you get some good bonuses there.
Right. The second one also comes from a character operations manual. This is a fun one called lung puncture. And if you score a critical hit with a weapon that deals piercing damage, and all of your biohacker's needles do piercing damage, you also impose the fatigue condition for 1d4 rounds onto the target, in addition to any other critical stuff you might do. So if you're really into puncturing people's lungs with needles, there you go.
The votes are already going. Whoa, okay.
Now that I've explained it.
We also have medical expert. This basically, this is to make your doctor or medic character. You can treat deadly wounds as a full action with that feat. Right. So if you want your healer biohacker.
The minor psychic power feat basically grants a sort of zero level spell that you can cast 3 times per day as a spell-like ability. There's a small selection of them, but they're just, if we want our biohacker to actually be a little more woo than medicine, then there we go.
And Spellbane gives you a bonus to saves against spells and spell-like abilities, because science trumps magic, or that's the idea here. So,
indeed.
Looks like lung puncture has jumped into the lead now.
Cool. People want this little guy to really jab people's lungs, I guess.
That's what the biohacker does.
Indeed. So even the base biohacker sort of needles that you get, your sort of what are known as biohacks, even if you don't put them in an injection style weapon, they deal, I think, a point of damage, but they still counts as piercing damage, and they still require an attack roll if you're doing it to an enemy, and you might could still always get a critical on that.
In space, no one can hear your lung deflate.
Yeah, you don't need lungs in space.
Androids don't, certainly.
Yeah, or to be the minute, they don't even have it.
All right, lung puncture is the winner.
Puncture is the winner. Oh, this guy. So right now, just so you all know, I've written the basic proficiencies that the biohacker gets on here as well. Light armor proficiency, basic melee weapon proficiency, small arms proficiency, and grenades proficiency, which is kind of fun. But what that doesn't really sort of say, take into account, is the fact that over here we've noticed that one of their abilities is known as injection expert. And what that does is that makes them automatically proficient in any weapon that naturally, for lack of a better word, has the injection special weapon special property, one of those two. And those are while weapon fusions might be able to give those to certain weapons, that doesn't count. So but we've added a few of those extra weapons. The needler pistol in the core rulebook is sort of one of them, and there are a few in armory as well. But we've got a couple more, and as a matter of fact, I think that's going to be one of our last choices, is to pick a sort of standard weapon for this little guy. We've got these are also all from character operations manual.
Yeah, we wanted to give new weapons to the new weapons for the biohacker to make sure they have a wide selection. So those are the ones that we're going to focus on.
Now these names probably don't mean anything to most of you, so we're going to give you just sort of a basic idea of what they do.
I mean, whoa, it's a one-person vote. I was like, wow, syringe spear, huge. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sure. The Costoject is it creates an injectable field that transforms ordinary matter into an acidic compound, disintegrating targets from the inside. It is a one-handed small arm of the disintegrator category, and it deals 1d4 acid damage.
We also have the Costo Lance, which is similar in style to the Costoject, although this is a two-handed long arm in the disintegrator category. So I guess if we choose that, we might need to go back and change the feat to long arm proficiency. Or
no, they get proficiency in automatically.
Right. In all of the injections.
Yeah, because this is an injection weapon.
So even though it's a long arm, they don't have proficiency because it's an injection weapon. They do have proficiency. The Costo Lance deals 1d6 acid damage.
Indeed. In the middle there is the Glove Needler, which is a kind of a leather glove mounted with a pistol that discharges the darts. It is a one-handed small arm, technically of the disintegrator category, that deals 1d6 acid damage, but you can only deal that acid damage to people that are within your reach, because it doesn't shoot anything out of the glove per se. It just sort of like a little needle pops out real quick, and you just punch them with the needle.
And with all three of these, the acid combines with whatever. If you want to put some other injectable thing in there, it does the acid plus whatever the injection does.
Any of your inhibitors, let's say.
The syringe stick is very similar to like a traditional auto-injector, little handheld thing, but it's a weaponized version of that. It's easy to conceal, and it's a one-handed basic melee weapon. It does 1d3 piercing damage.
And finally, the syringe spear is basically a larger version of the syringe stick, except it's on a big stick, I guess, fixed to a pole. And this is a two-handed basic melee weapon that deals 1d6 piercing damage. Now, our Raxilite does have a penalty to strength. We can sort of counteract that with our ability score points. They might not be so great with melee weapons, but that Glove Needler, just so you know, does count as a ranged attack that doesn't provoke. So you would be able to use your dex when you're punching people with it. That's why it's a small arm. But otherwise, I'm not saying don't pick the syringe stick or the syringe spear. We'll compensate for that. But they're not going to do a ton of damage with their -4 at the moment strength.
All right. Looks like it's close between the Costo Lance and the Glove Needler.
Let me ask you a question, Rob, from chat, from ADV. If the a target is immune to acid damage, do they still take the injection if you've got an inhibitor in there? I think they do. I'm not entirely certain of the rules in that case, but I think they should.
That would make sense. Although we, generally speaking, when you have some sort of resistance that reduces damage down to 0, anything associated that would go on with that would also be immune. So if you have like a damage plus this additional effect, if they don't take the damage, they wouldn't take that additional effect either. With this one, I would need to double check those rules.
We'd have to double check that. The Costo Lance, though, is not acid and piercing. It is just acid. So it doesn't take it. So we've got that lung puncture feat too, which does sort of take advantage for piercing damage, which only the two melee weapons do. So there's a real choice here to be made. Now that being said, that doesn't mean there are in fact the sort of acid dart rifle, I think in core rulebook, does acid and piercing damage, but I don't think it's an injection weapon.
We look pretty evenly divided between the Costo Lance and the Glove Needler, so we could always go with the Glove Needler to choose that.
Costo Lance is also a ranged weapon. We use dex on that, and it'd be kind of funny.
But both the acid versus piercing,
right? Well,
it wouldn't work with the lung puncture.
Well, the Glove Needler also only does acid.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. So both of those are.
Maybe they'll need a regular needler pistol as a backup weapon,
right? Something like that. Just take advantage of their lung puncturing, or just run up to someone with a needle and jab them.
Needler.
So, someone break this tie. They're tiny. Now, while the Raxilites are tiny, that doesn't necessarily... They have the weapons. Their elf fans sort of help them lift things. And, of course, things are will be sized for them. When you buy it, this guy's going to go to the shop. He's like, yeah, give me one of those Costa lances. And they're going to be like, oh, well, sure. And they're going to give them basically one sized for a tiny toy.
Well, it does say that the elf fan lets them use one-handed items as if they were a medium creature, not two-handed items. So they might still be...
Well, we're closed anyway, and we've got the glove needler as the winner there, just at the wire. So we're gonna throw that glove needler in here. That's gonna do. Where's the damage? 1d6, right? 1d6.
1d6 acid.
Acid. This is what's known as has got the range of, what did it say on there? Reach, within the reach.
I can look it up.
I just remembered it.
Okay.
Does it have a critical though? A critical effect? I don't really remember. It might have the injection DC +2, or it might not. I'm going to write injection over here as well, so we know that is an injection weapon.
Glove
That is a
needler.
level 2 item, though, right?
This would be the tactical glove needler, actually.
Yeah, of course, that's specifically.
For our first level character.
Yeah, I'll write that down.
Its range is reach. It has the critical is injection DC +2.
Okay. Rightio, tactical glove needler. That being a level 2, that's something I didn't want to necessarily skew the votes in its direction, but it is a level 2 weapon. So it's going to cost a little bit more, but I think our little noble scion can probably afford it.
And it has the conceal, injection, and punch gun special property.
Oh, that's right. It's also good at, you can sneak it around and be like, oh, I don't have a weapon. I just have this nice leather glove on. Punch. Needle punch.
Yes.
And I think it has one round.
One round. Yeah, you got to reload it after every shot.
One. Okay, those are all the choices, chat. Thank you for that. So what we're going to do now is just sort of go through and sort of figure out these ability score bonuses, and then figure out what skill ranks. Feel free to sort of, can still pipe in there. We might take your suggestions in that sense, but there's not anything that we really need to vote on in terms of what else is left. So at the moment, with a +2 dex, +2 int, +3 charisma, -4 strength, we want to spread around 10 points. And we want our, int probably to be pretty high. That's our primary stat there. So we could put 6 whole points in there for an 18 of int. It's pretty good. It's going to end up, though, not giving us maybe not enough dex to throw in because we need that dex for weapon fighting. What do you think, Rob? Do you want to go even? Or maybe like 16 int, 14 dex?
That's good with me.
Okay.
I don't like maxing out at first level? At first level, unless I can roll dice for it. So that's just me personally.
That is a total of 6 points we spend. We can maybe leave the charisma where it is. It's already got a 13. That's pretty nice.
Sure.
Wisdom. What do you think? Not street smart, our little guy, our little noble
scion. That's a noble scion.
He's not street smart
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Probably.
It becomes down to a question of, do we want to... oh, wait, that's actually... Sorry, I wrote those the wrong way around. It's 2 and 4 the other way. Do we want to, offset this strength penalty, or do we want to throw maybe a couple more points into con so he's a little more buff? A little buff man. A little buff peakman.
More dex says the chat. But
more dex is the chat. Well, we could put 2 more points in dex and have 16 dex, 16 int.
Well, it's going to be hard. Yeah, we can do that. It's going to be hard offsetting that strength penalty.
It sure is.
So I think maybe it's better putting it in con.
All right, and then we get 2 points in con to give us a little bit there.
Stay weak.
So hopefully with the good dex, he won't need that con so much.
Dump strength. Somebody says one more. Helen says one more charisma.
One more charisma. What do we think? Do you want to get 14 charisma on this, and then maybe 11 con?
I mean, it is a noble scion, but
yeah,
I think Kishmo agrees that plus 1 more charisma.
All right, we'll do it.
We'll have to drop something out.
We'll have to drop
somebody else.
If you want that 1 con, where do you want to drop it from there, Twitch? Do we want to go back down to 11 con? Or 1 more charisma. And just be +0 there?
Yeah, you get stamina and
11 con,
bonus.
yeah, we get that stamina bonus. Stamina for the biohacker. Now that we have all that, so 6 strength, 16 dex, 11 con, 16 intelligence, 10 wisdom, 14 charisma.
So that's going to be 6 stamina points.
6 whole stamina points.
Now.
Alrighty, and our resolve is I can never remember how to calculate this off the top of my head. It's level. No, it's not.
For what?
Level. Your resolve. It's your level plus your or half your level plus your key ability score modifier, right?
Yes.
So it's 4. We'll be rounding down to 0, half level. It's minimum 1, half level, minimum 1, I think, plus your key ability score modifier.
Sounds believable.
Yes, that's so pretty
Clearly,
good.
we haven't made up a character in a while.
Indeed. It's been. Thank you there, John Godek, half level plus key. Terrific. We've spent a good chunk of our money on that weapon. We're gonna have to think about whether or not what kind of armor we want. But while we're thinking about that, let's go ahead and fill out these saves. That's pretty easy. +0 on that, +3 on that. Now we're adding that +1 from that, but it's a +0 otherwise. Oops, that is messy. That thanks to Studious, we're getting that +1 will, and we're gonna need it. So a little reflex. The biohacker has a good fortitude base save because they're constantly working with chemicals and stuff. So there we go.
That will save will go up as you go
that
up
bonus
levels.
as you go up in levels. And then skill ranks. We're gonna have a lot of those because I think we start with 4 plus
4
int
plus
modifier.
intelligence modifier.
Skill ranks per level 7. All right. Let's think about that. Do we want to go medicine? Do we? Well, because we got lung puncture doesn't. I don't think has a prerequisite. Oh no, what's this? There we go. All right. Well, let's say. Well, life. We go. Life science. Boom. Medicine. Boom. Physical science. Boom. That's 3, right? There we go. We can.
I have to interrupt you here just to say, whichever armor we go with, we're going to need a fancy hat. Every noble needs a fancy hat. Thanks,
course,
Helen. I agree 100%.
Oh, yes, and also I've neglected to sort of say out loud what the class skills are. I've marked them here on the sheet with little X, but they are bluff, computers, culture, diplomacy, engineering, life science, medicine, perception, physical science, profession, sense motive, and sleight of hand for those sneaky biohackers.
Is a Raxilite small enough that they could use sleight of hand to conceal themselves?
That would be great. I'm just sort of double checking that. Beastly Benito will save is not equal to the int mod. That was in the playtest, I believe, and as you're only getting that +1. People saying some bluff and culture. Yeah, let's do that.
I did have an earlier question about what were the changes from the playtest to now, and there's a lot.
There's a lot. There's a fair amount.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of go through and list everything because some of those things were just tweaks to address some problems that came up in the playtest. Some things were, a little bit more that, okay, everyone's choosing this because it's the obvious choice. We need to make the other one better and sort of balance the options together. So
someone is saying at least do a little perception.
Perception's
take advantage of our studiousness.
We have at least one of the sciences, right?
We've got both sciences. We could also decide maybe not physical science if we don't want. But at the moment, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got one more skill rank to throw out there. Some people are saying sleight of hand because he's got that good dex.
There's computers, too.
Also computers.
You need,
maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, sleight of hand is...
that'll be fun.
Sneaky, touchy onion.
Or sense motive. Well, let's say, do we want to do both sciences? And maybe we take one out of physical science, put that into sense motive?
Sense motive, because patients lie.
Yeah, they do. I mean, yeah, they're going to get a little bit of that bonus anyway to sense motive, even if they don't make it a class, even if they don't put any ranks in it, I believe. So
from Studious,
yeah, from Studious. But people are mostly going for science. We're gonna stick with science here. Science.
Because again, with the Studious, that gives you instead of your wisdom modifier for perception and sense motive checks, you use your intelligence modifier instead. So.
And now we'll go back down.
The Studious ones are very good at perceiving and sensing
3.
motives.
Life science 3. Wisdom, perception also 3 because that's Studious. Physical science 3. Oh, sorry, keep up on that mic. And 3 for that too, right? Because our dex is 16. Yep. Alrighty. Gonna do it. +7 to sleight of hand. +7's kind of all around here for the skills. Nice, well-rounded. Little guy, little noble scion we've got. Yeah. So far, so good.
Okay.
What else we want to do? Well, it's a base attack bonus. We'll sort of throw that in there right now for ranged attacks. Since they're trained, since they have that proficiency, they're going to get their full. But it's a +0 base attack bonus as a mostly skill focused character. They're not. They don't get that +1 base attack bonus like you would a soldier or. That might be it, or one of our later classes. So it's got a +3 when you're using your tactical glove needler. Kind of do all this too, just because that's +3, -2 to melee attacks though. So it's going to be pretty tricky to run up to someone and stab them with a needle.
Yes,
and you're just going to have to use your injection weapon. That's all there is to it. Although you're still gonna have to run up to them and do it because this thing is only within reach.
Right,
only
but with
reach.
their elf fan, they get the reach of 5 feet. They get a
that's
medium
great.
creature, so they don't have to. These, even though they're tiny, they won't need to run into the. It's basically one of their little tendrils will, I guess, wield.
Wield it up.
The glove needler and poke,
just
poke.
a little glove, just hanging kind of loosely on a tentacle, on a little tentacle vine. So that in there too. Base attack bonus for thrown attacks in there. Let's think about. Well, I think mainly. We can throw this in here. Good initiative. But think about that. We know that. Let's call them from. We can say that their home word is Raxil.
They're Raxil, exactly.
We haven't. While chat out there while you're thinking about this, while I'm thinking about some other stuff. Think about whether or not this is a little noble prince or noble princess, and what their or other and some kind of name that we can think about while I maybe think about what kind of armor they should have. Might be something we could throw in as choice.
Dr. Princess. Yeah, we could have. Light armors are our primary choice.
Right. Let's go to the ones in Calm, and we can maybe do a little preview with that real quick. That I didn't think of when I was coming up with the polls for this. Do you have any good, nice light armor in here? Actually, no. That's why. Because mostly sort of put that space to focus on shields and new weapons that will be good for the classes. In the meantime, I'm just going to write +3 dex mod down here for this. And
Princess Heirloom Scallion. Sorry, I just, as a name.
Do the Raxilites have genders? Do we? We might not say one way or the other in there. In the write-up, I'm not sure. I remember.
I would have to. Actually, a Raxilite has both male and female reproductive organs.
Okay,
and so to reproduce, 2 or more Raxilites gather to exchange pollen.
All right.
And then one of them transitions to a seeding stage and does the seeds.
Okay.
Because they're little plant people.
They're little plant people.
So we actually weren't clear about whether they. I would imagine it's sort of an individual thing. Some have gender identities and some don't, perhaps to mix with humanoid society.
But we'll say that this our own Raxilite here, our own Raxilite Biohacker, probably doesn't think about that much. Just sort of is a sort of a gender there. Although it doesn't mean they can't have a good title like princess.
That is true.
Yeah. And Julius Cerilius Plantificus, that's a good one. Dr. Rosebud. Someone has put a couple apostrophes and random spaces into Princess Heirloom Scallion to make it look more namey, I guess, more fantasy, science fiction namey.
Secret tip: we don't like throwing in a whole lot of apostrophes.
Well,
or our editors don't like it when we throw in apostrophes.
I like the positive idea of picking. Someone's written Prince X as sort of a gender neutral prince thing. That could be something that in your home campaign, we don't know we haven't written too much about Raxil and if they even have a royalty structure or why our particular Raxilite is a noble scion or not.
We could also just draw some symbol for the biohacker formerly known as Prince X.
No, you didn't. Okay, how about we do? We're gonna do Doctor Prince X. But those are all titles still. Should we do?
Who's to say your title can't be your name?
That's also true.
Is every biohacker a doctor though? Because we have Dr. B and now we have Dr.
All right, well then.
Sex, whatever.
I didn't want to say. I was going to maybe say professor too, but that would be also my ability oath character is also a professor. Ask your doctor if Prince X is right for you. That's good. I mean, what do you think? Should we have doctors? Yeah, or just a name?
We could also leave the name blank since we will be posting
That's
these for people to
true.
use
That's
however
true.
they want.
You've got all your names out there.
Let people
thinking about
name
that
them themselves.
And I think that we sort of have talked about that. What sort of you'd mentioned that,
Or I can look up the Latin name for dandelion. I don't know.
whether or not they're flowering or seedling, right? And we can sort of start off with that. And I think because our noble scion was probably wants to be the flower. Is that the flowering one? When you get that plus bonus to bluff and
diplomacy from the flowering. Seeding Raxilites gain a +2. So flowering is when you reach adulthood, the Raxilites flower, and they are lively and sociable.
Sounds like our
and
little,
then it's once they're ready to reproduce, that's when they then seed, and they have a little puffball of seeds, kind of like the way the dandelions do. That's why I was mentioning that. And then they go poof, and they plant and sprout their young, and then they flower again. So
yeah,
it is flowering tends to be the. Did you make it flowering?
I did. I added the bonus to that. I added the bonus to that, and I'll just sort of maybe I'll mark that down here as whoopsie.
Oh no, we lost our screen. Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
There we go.
And it came back. All right.
And I'll just sort of maybe I'll note that over here under description.
Flowering. I mean, technically, it is a racial trait too. So because whether they are doing that.
Where to put those all?
Ah, yes. 1 week of rest is what's required to change between flowering and seeding.
Yes.
Because
you gotta take that. You gotta take that nap. You gotta take that long nap.
Indeed. And you just wrote common. I noticed.
I did.
They also speak Raxi.
They also speak Raxi. Okay.
If they're from Raxilite, they would speak Raxi. And they would get what? Three other languages.
Yeah. Let's just throw some languages out there, chat.
I really think they should speak Kasatha so that they can talk to Dr. B. That makes perfect sense to me.
That sounds good to me. Sure, I'm zooming in.
Any languages?
If the character is tiny,
Aslanti, no.
Oops! Oh no! I've done it. I've done it now.
Messed it up.
I'm just trying to go back.
More technical difficulties. Ancient Thessalonian. Okay.
Open up OneNote. No.
No, he doesn't seem to be. All right.
So, haha. I don't. I got a chubby hand and I pressed the wrong button and now I don't know where we at on this thing. Hold on.
Breatheden. How does one speak to the devourer? One can speak to the devourer however they want, but the devourer does not often speak back. Breatheden was an idea. I like that idea.
Brethus are way into the biotechnology.
And the language of the planet of nobles.
The noblest of languages is, of course, Yosoki.
Okay, so that's in canon now.
That's my canon.
The universal language of violence. Yes, all characters.
All characters are going to speak that. One final thing, I think we're how are we doing on time, by the way? Getting close to the end. But one thing we can sort of talk about is the just a quick armor, so we know what to.
I mean, second skin is always a good choice.
Second skin is always a good choice. I just don't remember the stats for that.
Indeed, if we have enough money, because that tactical glove needler was a bit pricey. What was 560 credits.
560. We get 1,000 though. We get 1,000, so we'll go 560. And then second skin is only 250. We can easily afford that. Okay, we still have some money left. So second skin will be our armor.
We do have here's Helen with an alignment. We didn't talk about alignment.
Right, we didn't talk about alignment. Let's do that.
Helen says chaotic good has to be chaotic with the noble pickpocket doctor we've made.
I like it.
They could be a stage magician too. It doesn't have to be only pickpocketing with sleight of hand. It could all be about misdirection and card tricks. But I do like a noble pickpocket.
Chaotic good, yeah.
Chaotic good.
I think
neutral unstable.
That's one of my I would say often my preferred alignment when I'm playing characters.
Chaotic good.
Chaotic good. You get to be good, but you get to kind of do what you want too.
Why would you want to be good? No,
because it's fun to be good.
I know.
All right, 23 on that. AC versus combat maneuvers.
Support big potion. No,
not bad. Not bad.
One bad day away from snapping.
We do have a. I don't think we can afford an armor upgrade in this armor upgrade slot, to be honest. Because we only have 190 credits left.
We did have a healing serum is always a good choice. It does support big potion, but
it does.
Big serum.
Big serum. Those are about 50, so we could. Sorry, everybody, my hands. We could just sort of start with 3 of those, and you're gonna want to. You can load them into your injection weapon, anyway, and jab your
Healing
friends with
serums.
them.
Yeah. There's all sorts of medicinals and stuff that you can use with injection weapons that work well with the biohacker. I think we have some new medicinals in the character operations manual as well. Whoa, yeah, that's
getting all close so you can read my. Oh,
healing serums Mark 1,
and that's gonna cost 150. So we got 40. We got 40 credits of walking around money.
What about ammo? We're gonna need some darts, right, for the
rounds. Actually, weirdly enough, it just said the capacity.
It does say rounds.
So we are gonna need some rounds, some small arm rounds, real quick. Definitely need those.
The old glove needler.
The old glove needler. What they are. Hey, guess what? 30 small arm rounds cost 40 credits. Good for us. And we'll, since we have to reload with every one, it'll be a while before we get to those 30 small arm rounds. We can always also get rid of one of these these serums and spend that money on something else if we feel like we really need it. No, hold on. We need to get rid of them. We need to get rid of one of them. Let's do 2 Mark 1 healing serums because we need to spend at least 50 credits on a hat. On a fancy hat.
A porter drone would be good as well. We don't have that book. Also, the grenades. They are proficient in grenades. We could
give
throw
them a grenade.
A frag grenade or so on there.
All right, let's throw a frag grenade on there. That's 35, giving us 15. I basically want to take a look at what clothing costs real quick.
Reconfigurable clothing, John Godek says. So.
Oh boy, that might be in armory. I think.
Frag grenades puncturing lungs. Frag grenades do piercing damage.
All right.
So would that work
sense.
with puncture lung?
Well, if you can do a critical, which if you're throwing it, you can do a critical. Can you do a critical on a grenade? That's a good question. Sorry, everyone. One more thing. Just one look.
Flip madly through the pages. All right, yeah. When you score a critical hit with a weapon that deals piercing damage.
I just noticed those. All right, there. Clothing, professional, formal is 5. We'll call that 5. We'll spend our 5 on formal clothing, which is a nice fancy hat, leaving us with 10 credits of walking around money.
All right.
Yes. Ooh. All right. So that's our little Raxilite biohacker, everybody. You can at some point we're gonna put a little more information on this so you can play it before the book comes out. Because at the moment you can biohacks. What does that mean? How many do you get per day? That's a good question. And all those other things. We'll probably give a little more information on those as we put this out onto PDF. But they are essentially ready to play. They just need a name, and that's up to you at home chat when you play. Whoever this might
possibly
be.
A deity. Someone earlier said Horus was what might be a good choice. Okay. But
I'll write it down. You can always change that as well. I guess. What do you think, Rob? Any final thoughts on this little planty? Little planty.
I don't think so. I think we've hit all of the main items there. So. Laughing at the chat here.
That's good. Share it with the rest of us, please.
I want to give thanks to everybody here in the audience that voted and gave your comments here to help us out with this. It's
a lot of fun.
Just to be clear, this is the kind of thing to show kind of the character creation process and to show off some of the stuff. This isn't sanctioned for Starfinder Society play at this point. Like we're gonna put it up. We're gonna put it up there. I think that in terms of the sanctioning of the races from AA3, that's going to be a process that our organized play team will go through. Mm-hmm. But this isn't really designed for society play. We didn't use any of the society guidelines in making this. It's really just kind of showing off some of the options in both Alien Archive 3 and Character Operations Manual and walking through the character process.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So thank you again for all your help in working on this character. Stay tuned over the next few weeks. We'll be doing the same sort of process with the other 2 new classes in the character operations manual, the Vanguard and the Witch Warper. I'll have someone else besides Jason Keeley here with me for
What?
those
Am I
things.
fired?
Oh,
wow.
They do say I give away spoilers on this thing on the Twitch stream. So sorry. No.
Sad.
So
Goodbye,
those will be coming in a
everybody,
few
forever.
weeks. And once we get all of these, our plan is to put all these characters up on the web so you can take a look and use them as you see fit in your games. Anything else you want to add there?
No, I just want to say this was a ton of fun.
Okay. All right. It was fun. Thanks a lot, everybody. And we'll see you next time on Starfinder Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.